Are you, as a web designer, feeling like an imposter? Do you feel like you just don't belong in this industry? You didn't come from this background. You weren't formally trained. Maybe you have a terrible eye for design. You feel like you can't code. Maybe you feel like you're too old, like you've missed the boat. Or maybe you're a mompreneur and you can't imagine keeping up with growing a business and raising kids at home. If you feel any of those feelings, it is okay, my friend. You are not alone. That is called imposter syndrome. I've dealt with it for years, and I've learned a lot of valuable tips for combating imposter syndrome. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my top 5. Now, we're going to start with actually what imposter syndrome is. And I feel that Wikipedia actually does a great job of laying this out. Imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomena or imposterism, is a psychological occurrence in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, accomplishments, and has a persistent, internalized, that term is linked for a reason, fear of being exposed as a fraud. The reason this is linked very intentionally is because it is internal. This is a psychological thing that you personally go through. I realized that no one cared about what I was up to in web design, and I mean that in a good way. Other agency and designers were not looking at me saying, oh my gosh, look what Josh is doing. His design eye is terrible. His coding is terrible. They didn't care. They were busy running their own businesses. So you don't need to focus about anyone else than you. Let's dive into these 5 tips to help you combat imposter syndrome. Starting with number 1, nobody is an expert. Now that sounds weird because you might view me or other web designers or agency owners as experts, but the reality is web design, quite frankly, is a complicated industry and it's so complex. There's no way that everyone can know everything about web design. It moves too fast. So while that can be a little overwhelming, it should be freeing for you to know that you don't need to know everything. You just need to know a little bit about most things and a lot about a couple things that you're really good at, and then you're good to go. So you don't need to be an expert. Number 2, you don't need to be the best web designer, period. You just need to be the best in your client's sphere. This quote was taken from a recent interview I did with Troy Dean, who is a WordPress legend and the agency owner. He makes this great point, and it should be reassuring to know that you don't need to compete with me and all other web designers in the world. You only need to compete with the people right around your clients and who your clients are looking at. And that's great because as long as you are really good for your clients and you are the best in their mind as the best fit and solution for their business, even if you're not the best web designer or best coder, that's how you get clients, and that's how you can avoid feeling like you need to compete with me and other web designers, and you just need to be the best for your clients. Number 3, good news. You know way more than you think. Even if you are just starting out in web design, maybe you're watching this and you're 3 months in, maybe 6 months in, you might feel like I don't know anything about web design. You know way more than you think. And anytime you get a chance to do a training or a tutorial video or just share your knowledge with your clients, you'll be surprised at how much you know. And that's the beauty about how to get clients and avoid feeling like an imposter. You don't need to know everything. Again, no one's an expert. You just need to know a little more than your clients. And in their mind, you are the expert. So you know way more than you think you do right now, especially if you're going through courses or programs, or as you do one project at a time, you're going to gain more experience. You know way more than you think you do. So give yourself more credit than you think you have. Number 4, stay in your lane. You got to follow your path. When I was a web designer starting out, I felt like I had to be just like all other digital agencies and have a building downtown with office and staff and overhead. And the more I realized it's not what I wanted. I wanted to work from home with a remote small team and work with awesome clients that I cared about. And I wanted to do it at a smaller scale. You can do the same thing. You don't need to be looking at everybody else and doing what everyone else is doing. You can focus on the services that you know and you enjoy and you like doing, and you can focus on the type of clients that you like working with. You don't need to do what everyone else is doing. And there's a great picture that really illustrates this point. This is the picture of Michael Phelps years ago when he won one of his golds. And I'm not a swimmer, so probably not the best example. But the picture here is exactly what happens when you're focused on someone else. They will win the race. If you are focused on other agencies and trying to do what they are all doing, you will not perhaps in this case, win that client or win that proposal. You got to stay eye on the prize, your lane, what you focus on, what you do best. And that's how you get better results for clients. And that's how you get over this feeling of being an imposter. Because while you can look at others and see what others are doing for reference and inspiration, and it's good to look at trends, you want to stay in your lane. Because just like driving, as soon as you start to look at another lane too long, what happens? You veer off, you can end up in the ditch. I don't want you to end up in the web design ditch. I want you to do what you do, stay in your lane, stay in your path. And then finally, number 5, life is too short. Life is too short for this feeling of imposter syndrome to hold you back for what you can do in web design, for what you're meant to do for your clients, for what you're meant to do for your family. There are so many amazing opportunities now in web design. All of these tips will help you combat imposter syndrome, but just remember that life is too short for this to hold you back. Do not let your own internal psychological feelings of imposter syndrome hold you back from the life that you can live with web design as a tool to help you get there. I hope these tips have helped. I go into a little more detail on this in podcast episode 181. If you want to check that out, link below, a little more detail on all these points and more. And then if you have any tips on anything that's helped you get over imposter syndrome, I would love to know. Wherever you see this video, share your top tips below for combating imposter syndrome. And I hope this video has helped. I'll see you on the next one. Make sure to subscribe below, and I can't wait to help you in your web design journey.